So I have a message from a Patreon supporter who I'm just going to call Nick. And this is about something many of us know firsthand. Something that's maybe in the background of all our discussions about effective activism, lifestyle activism, vegan politics, which is just the awareness that in real life, face-to-face, most vegan activism sucks. It's crappy. It's exhausting. It's not rewarding. Feels bad for the people involved. Has very few positive outcomes. And you know, this is also part of the origin story for DXE. So DXE is a vegan animal rights group. DXE is their way of abbreviating Direct Action Everywhere. I have many videos on this channel criticizing them. But one of the aspects of their routine that I have sympathized with, that I've commented on sympathetically, was just that they really decided to found a new group with a new approach to protesting and activism because they were already frustrated with wasting their time and energy using other approaches. Now, the new approach they adopted, I think, is terrible. I think it's a disaster. I think it's all bad. And they're now wasting their time doing things like going to baseball games and running onto the field trying to hold a poster that says "Go Vegan," like, interrupting the baseball game. And if you know anything about American baseball, that means that the security runs out and pounces on you. So you're on the baseball pitch for a few seconds, and the crowd has no idea why you're interrupting the game, and they think you're just another crazy fan or idiot who's interrupting the baseball game. Because that does happen often enough. People, for different reasons. Some people run naked onto the baseball pitch. Just for stupid reasons, people run onto the baseball pitch, and security pounces on them. It's like a normal thing at sports games. So Direct Action Everywhere, their response to what was wrong with the old style of activism was to invent a new style of activism that's even worse. So it's pathetic, but I can sympathize. And their founder and boss, he pretends he's not the boss, but he is, Wayne Seong, who is very much the dictator for life of the DXE group. Wayne Seong, he likes to mention in his lectures on this, on why DXE was created, he likes to mention that for many years he would bake cookies and give out cookies on a university campus with a message about veganism and animal rights. Vegan cookies, we presume. So he gave out hundreds of cookies and hundreds of flyers of the cookies, and this wasn't effective. It was a waste of his time. So I understand. I understand. But what you're going to do with that impulse is another question. So I got a message here from Nick, and you're going to see, some of you are going to hear this, and you're going to be really like, you're going to know exactly what's being talked about here. It's going to be overly familiar to you. And some of you have never tried this kind of stuff before, so you're going to be listening to it going, I didn't realize that was the way the cookie crumbled with these situations. So Nick writes to me. By the way, Nick, if you want me to promote your channel or use your full name, if you want me in future to promote your website, tell me. But I treat people as anonymous in case they want to remain anonymous in these videos. So I'm just calling you Nick, and he hasn't mentioned having a website or anything. Nick writes, I just wanted to update you on what happened this semester. Since the last time we talked, I had my first encounter of just how apathetic people are about veganism. I printed out and cut up over 200 flyers, mostly using scissors, a bad and painful move for the cowspiracy showing and discussion that was on campus. So the point is, he was making flyers to promote. They decided to show a vegan film documentary called Cowspiracy. I handed them out to all my closest friends, to everyone in all my classes, to people outside the campus, walking to the residential side of campus, etc., etc. Okay, the next part of the sentence is a little bit peculiar. He says, some professors and not one person showed up from this effort. So I assume his point is a couple of professors showed up, but not a single normal person showed up as a result of this effort to promote the event. The only people who came were people who got extra credit from one vegan professor and another professor who I don't know much about. So 2 professors participated, plus a few students who were more or less forced to go by their professors. So out of the 200 flyers, the success rate was 0%. People didn't come to learn. They didn't come to be exposed to new ideas. They just came for points, i.e. for bonus marks in their class. I'm sure my inexperience is showing pretty obviously in this email that I was expecting at least 2 or 3 people to be interested enough to learn about something they'd never heard of before. After all, I remember the thought in my own head when I clicked on the video that turned me vegan. A video that would challenge my ideas, and not just assuming the person on YouTube was some crazy person, but that I would hear them out on why I should stop eating meat. Pretty ironic, I know. All right. Apparently that line of thinking is more rare than I thought. So next semester I need a new approach. I was thinking about going personally to different environmental clubs on campus and handing out flyers there instead, connecting more with people who are tangentially related to veganism, whether they know it or not. Basically, what I'm asking is, do you know of any effective ways to advertise an informational event for veganism that happens on campus every semester? Just one last note. The food company that services the college has asked our group to advertise for Meatless Mondays and get more people to send their info in to the heartless corporation that makes money out of selling food on campus. In this case, it's Chartwell's. Horrible. In my experience, a terrible company. Needless to say, the Meatless Mondays meals they have been serving are loaded with cheese and butter. But if we get support for it and show Chartwell's the students actually care, they might change that. It would give us a voice. But we have been greeted with more apathy. We assigned everyone in the group to contact environmental clubs and asked them to show a video explaining Meatless Mondays and explaining the impact it could have on campus health. Not a single group got back to any of us. The only response I got was from one of my friends complaining to me that we posted on her club's Facebook page without asking. On a club open... Oh, and that was for a club that was open to all students. Next semester, I plan to get permission to talk at different club meetings personally to gather support for the campaign, but none of my disheartened club members seem to want to do the same. Is there something I could do so that I'm not solo efforting this? From experience, do you even think that talking at club meetings is effective? As this semester ends, I won't have to eat 7 PB&J sandwiches a week with warm rice and cold salad bar beans every other meal. So that's a plus. So we may be able to do something positive next semester. So he's alluding to here, it's not the most clearly written email. The actual food he eats on campus is garbage. His situation in terms of being able to feed himself is pretty awful. His situation in terms of being able to motivate or participate with other students is pretty awful. It's depressing. It's bleak. And it seems like a waste of everyone's time, and everybody else in the group except for him wants to give up. Right, I can relate. And this is also why, I've had many, many videos talking about the impulse towards violence and radicalism and extremism within veganism. This is one of the things that drives people towards extremism, is the feeling that being moderate, being reasonable, doesn't get results. People feel emotionally drained because this is something so meaningful to them, it's something so important to them, and they feel like they're screaming in the face of a crowd of people that's completely indifferent, right? So maybe they get interested in something that will get a reaction out of the crowd, whether that's moral or immoral, right? They get interested in some kind of protest, or, a lot of campuses have animal rights activists who try to break into the labs, try to damage property, or get into more and more extreme forms of activism to try to get the response they want from an indifferent public. Look, I actually don't want to answer this question in this video. It's going to be a 1-hour discussion. Some other video, and I feel I've made many videos in the past. If you just search for the words effective activism on this channel, you're going to find many, many, many reflections from me on what is effective activism. What does it mean, and what can it be in your life? But I could do a specific video talking about what's possible and what's impossible on a campus. I do think that part of what you're struggling with here, what's the name I'm using? Nick, right? Okay. Part of what you're struggling with here, Nick, I really think is a sort of unexamined inheritance from left-wing politics. The assumption that something like, this is understandable, the assumption that the mode of protest and the mode of radicalizing people is like the way people used to rile up public opinion on the oppression of African Americans in the 1960s. Okay, the oppression of African Americans, the unequal status, the poor living conditions the poor economic conditions of African Americans in the 1960s was something that was obvious to everybody. It was on the TV news every night. It was something people were physically uncomfortable with every day. It was something people were talking about on the street and being confronted with on the street in many forms and seeing every day. It was something that everyone on or off university campus had to have an opinion about. So the reality of giving out pamphlets or having events or protests in that unique set of historical circumstances is totally different from the situation for veganism today. And again, I normally use it as a positive comparison, but you have to think. So my point is here, without examining it, without being aware of it, I think that many vegans are assuming that they are in the same position as radicals, roasting up. Is roasting the right verb? That you're radicals harnessing an already present, social discontent like that. That the people are ready to rise up, that people are curious, that people are concerned, that people are engaged, that people are angry, that people are unsettled. And all you have to do is hand out flyers to get people to come to an event. And in the 1960s, that was definitely true with the status of African Americans. And my point is here, it's not just African Americans who respond to that. Millions of white people were really concerned and didn't know what to do and wanted to hear a voice of reason and wanted to attend events and rallies and debates and get involved because it was such an obvious social problem. It couldn't be ignored, right? Now, my point is here, it's not that vegans are consciously and intentionally imitating that culture of dissent or that culture of protest or that pattern of political activism. I think in a totally unexamined way, we're sleepwalking through a social and cultural situation where vegans assume that left-wing protest politics in that mold, following that pattern, part of that cultural legacy, will have the same kind of results, will have the same kind of public interest, and it won't. So normally I make a positive comparison between veganism and the struggle to deal with drunk driving or the struggle to deal with cigarette smoking, right? Like Mothers Against Drunk Driving. But it's also a negative comparison in a sense because, again, if you're not comparing the situation of veganism to radical left-wing politics or, black liberation politics, black civil rights politics in the 1960s, you have to realize Mothers Against Drunk Driving, a group trying to deal with a problem like drunk driving or cigarette smoking, they were never in the situation of just walking around a university campus and handing out flyers and having thousands of people ready to rise up. It was never that kind of issue. It was never going to harness that kind of discontent, right? It's not, again, people to some extent, they may care emotionally about drunk driving. Even if you say, yeah, you know what, my cousin was killed in a drunk driving accident. People may care emotionally about cigarette smoking. They say, yeah, my grandfather died of lung cancer because of cigarette smoking. It's there, but still, it doesn't mean that you can walk around a university campus and just tap into seething discontent. And that really is the illusion that the left wing banks on so heavily, because the whole tradition of communism and socialism is based on the illusion that the workers, the masses, are seething with discontent at all times, that all you have to do is go out and ask anyone who has a factory job, and they're all on the edge of rising up in a revolution to tear down the government. Now, nothing could be further from the truth. This is an illusion primarily based on fiction about what happened in Paris in 1871 in the days of the Paris Commune. This is a very specific kind of historical fraud, both looking backward in history, the way communists misrepresent the past history of Europe, and looking forward in history, about how this supposedly is a pattern that's going to repeat itself, even though we're lying about what happened the last time and the time before that. What happened in, various failed revolutions. And I'm sorry, I think I just gave I may have just given you the wrong date for the Paris Commune, sorry. I'm thinking of 1789 is the French Revolution, and then what am I thinking of? Paris Commune is 1871, right? Let's use Google. Let's see if I've got those dates right. 1871 in Paris Commune, am I wrong? Back me up here, Google. I think that's right. 1789 and 1871. Oh, but I'm in China, so Google is blocked. Authenticity here, people. Yeah, okay, so I'm right. What a great way to end this video. So my memory is not failing me. Okay, great. So, yes, I could do a much longer video. I've done many videos in the past about effective activism and approach these things. But in terms of how you think about it, I do think you need to start with a totally different paradigm of appreciating the position you're in, that you're not harnessing some seething discontent. It's not the case that there's a revolutionary fervor or even the kind of discomfort that exists or that existed in the 1960s with the unequal status of black people. You're in a situation of contentment. So, I mean, again, that left-wing paradigm is about harnessing discontent. And they have this illusion that there already is this revolutionary discontent boiling up everywhere, especially among the working class or among African Americans. And all you have to do is harness it or direct it or tap into it, okay? The situation for vegans is that we are living in a society that is contented. We're instead addressing ourselves to contentment. Complete contentment. People are not even dissatisfied to the same extent that they're dissatisfied with drunk driving as a social problem or cigarettes causing cancer as a social problem. People are happy eating meat. People are happy eating cheese. The whole fucking civilization could not be more contented with its cheap, readily available, and relatively safe access to meat products, meat and dairy products. Remember, 100 years ago, meat and dairy products carried disease and infection at a much higher rate. Thanks to modern hygiene and modern refrigeration technology, these foods have become more and more readily available, more easily for people to consume, etc., etc. So you are addressing your protest. You're not harnessing discontentment. You're addressing a contented and indifferent audience. And I think what you're trying to do is create discontentment out of contentment. And in a very fundamental way, that is the wrong approach. And that is always going to be rewarded with the kind of frustration that you're facing here. So my heart goes out to you. I do sympathize, and I do sympathize with the people who've gotten pissed off with how ineffective these methods are, and who have, like Wayne Seong, like Direct Action Network, tried to seek out a new method of activism. But it's a great shame, I think, that so far they have all been seeking out the wrong methods. And in many cases, they've traded in a bad method for one that is even worse.